It's easy to be mesmerized by Haruki Murakami's stories than it is to figure out how he does it. In America, his novels lack the normal suspense techniques, the most well-known of which is undoubted The Wind-Up Bird Chronicle. His narrators are often uninterested, and the stakes in many of his Shaggy Dog stories are unclear. The undertone is practically appealing, and several hundred pages later, as if from a trance, readers feel confidently they've made contact with something significant, if not exactly clear, at least what that something is. Murakami is undeniably one of the most effective Japanese authors of our time, along with his books and stories being translated into 50 languages. Kafka on the Shore is unlike anything I've ever read. Haruki Murakami has a tricky way with words to define. His literary genre mixes components of art movement and parallel universes to evoke a world that appears too much off from our imagination, nonetheless invitingly inside reach. Now, what makes Kafka on the Shore a top-ranked book among his works? Let's dive into this book in detail. Kafka on the Shore is unlike anything I've ever read. Haruki Murakami has a tricky way with words to define. Murakami was born in 1949, managed a jazz bar in Tokyo, before being a published writer in 1979 with the novel Hear the Wind Sing. Though his work is replete with references to contemporary American culture, particularly popular music, he details the boring necessities of life with an easygoing flatness, reminds of Western youth and minimalist fiction in the hungover of 1970s. His narratives are dreamlike, closer to Kobo Abe's viscid surrealism with solid realism. Reading Kafka on the Shore, we often have no idea what will happen next. Readers' anxiety will be reinforced by Murakami's statements in interviews, such as the one published in last summer's Paris Review, is that the author did not always know what is next in the story while he is writing. This novel takes you on a challenging and thought-provoking adventure. Murakami has constructed a work that is very much a metaphor, much like the theme of the book itself. It takes you on an extraordinary trip of the self, full of ideas and thoughts about life, truth, dreams, identification, wisdom, love, grief, and beauty. The majority of his characters have been guys in their 30s, easygoing loner types with shaky love history and a passion for jazz, whiskey, and American films. Kafka on the Shore consists of two parallel plots together to convey the stories of Kafka Tamura in the first strand and Nakata in the second strand. Murakami's hero in this book is a runaway child, Kafka Tamura, a 15-year-old youngster who has never felt love or care and decided to go away from home. Kafka Tamura has escaped his father, Koichi Tamura, who is a world-renowned sculptor who murders cats to manufacture flutes from their spirits. Kafka carries a well-packed bag and a scolding, exhorting, alter ego named Crow in his brain. He has no remembrance of his mother, who completely disappeared with his older sister when he was 4 years old. His father is uninterested in him, and their connection is poor. Desiring to discover himself, Kafka sets out on a quest to avoid his preset destiny by father, even if it means symbolically fulfilling the curse that has been placed upon him. Kafka ends up in Shikoku City. In the second strand, chapters alternate with the story of an old man named Satoru Nakata. When he was 9 years old, in 1944 conclusion of World War II, Nakata was one of 16 fourth-grade students who went on a mushroom-gathering stroll with their teacher. Suddenly, everyone went into coma after seeing an unusual flashing in the sky. Nakata was the only one who did not awaken. Many weeks later in a military hospital, he woke up, but he had lost his whole memories and ability to read. He has no idea what Japan is or how to identify his parents. Later, he is able to learn to work in a furniture shop, and when it closes due to the owner's death, he supplements his government grant with a part-time job that is finding lost cats. Because, in addition to his disabilities, he has developed the rare ability to talk with cats after UFO flash while in school. Cats regularly appear as representatives from another planet in Murakami's literature. This is the escapism concept given to Nakata's character by the writer. Murakami believes the greatest way to think about reality is to move as far away from it as possible. This might be considered as Murakami's approach. 5 decades later, one cat hunting takes Nakata to a house which belongs to Koichi Tamura, Kafka's dad. Where situations driven to made Nakata to murder a man who looks at in the shape of Johnny Walker from the whiskey label. Fleeing the gruesome crime scene, Nakata escaped in truck rides towards south to Shikoku City, where Kafka Tamura has just arrived by bus. Later, in Story 1, Kafka seeks shelter in a workplace at a tiny, private library operated by the mysterious woman Miss Siki and the clever and more accepting assistant Oshima. There he passes his days reading 1001 Nights book until the police start looking for him in connection with his father's murder, which he has no idea he committed. So, Oshima transports him to the jungle, where Kafka is eventually cured. In the meantime, Nakata pursues towards Shikoku, in the company with a dropout truck driver named Hoshino. The novel's two threads are blended together here. Reviewers have a habit of keeping the last few chapters under secret, but giving away the finish of Kafka on the beach would be a tough assignment because not even the author does it. Unless I'm being exceptionally dumb, the loose ends in this novel are considerably more loose than in any Murakami work to yet. The World War II X-file is only mentioned once, the UFO is not ever explained, and the ghostly town between the worlds has no obvious purpose other than being a location for Kafka to both escape to and then escape from. The mythic motifs are also pathetically clouded. Is Mrs. Siki Kafka's mom? The response given to Kafka is, "You already know the solution." Is Sakura, a fellow traveler whom Kafka encounters early in the novel and later rapes in a dream, is she his sister? Did Kafka murder his own father in another dream, using Nakata as an invisible proxy? Is the boy named Crow is Kafka's superego, or what? This fantasy's loose ends may excite Murakami enthusiasts, they may elicit puzzled interpretation to his fans, but for the unconvinced, they will just dangle somewhat ropily. Critics may also point to parts that appear with enough regularity all across Murakami's work to resemble a checklist, that are portals into Lynchian in-between worlds, heroes on quests for lost women, hyperlinks to wartime supernatural experiences, random people with a more intimate knowledge of jazz, whiskey, coffee, and chamber music. The level of Americanization in the translation is quite depressing. Murakami's writing is always appealing, and I read this book in a single non-stop feeding frenzy. The novel delivers pure enjoyment of a pounding story. The author's typical kookinesses, such as talking cats, lend smartness and color. Kafka at the Shore, like all of Murakami's literature, doesn't feel remote or fake. Murakami is like a magician who explains what he's doing and yet makes you believe he has supernatural abilities. So strong is the force of the author's imagination and of his confidence in the ancient potency of the narrative he is telling, that all this stuff is made authentic. The strange, methodical urgency of Murakami's books derives from their concern with such internal issues. Understanding ourselves to that need is what stories have done for humanity since the beginning of time. Dreams do it too. But although anybody may tell a tale that resembles a dream, it's the rare artist, like Murakami, who can make us feel that we are experiencing it ourselves. Kafka on the Shore examines our inherent connection to destiny and the repercussions of loss from dislocation. Writer is able to inject some profoundly thought-provoking and contradictory comments in subplots. The recurrent themes of sadness and loss were very fascinating since Murakami appears focused on revealing the truth of our reality. Murakami states, "Happiness is an allegory, misery is a story." Filled with mysterious circumstances including talking cats, fish raining down from the sky and the appearance of characters from the past, plus a host of weird and quirky characters named after famous brand including Johnny Walker, Kafka on the Shore is an unforgettable experience of what it means to be alive. At the heart of it all, Kafka on the Shore is a story of love and loss and how it affects identity. The characters in the story find themselves trapped in time, struggling to find themselves in the present because of what happened in the past. For example, Kafka is constantly obsessed with the missing pieces of his childhood. Siki and Nakata represent different phases of human consciousness and time. Through the construction of the metaphysical world of Murakami, the reader is introduced into another world which exists outside of time. Siki represents the past, a part of herself is missing and constantly living in her memories. On the other hand, Nakata is a representation of the present. He lives entirely in the present as a piece of himself is lost in the past. Another character, Oshima, represents a real identity divide. Outside, Oshima is a boy. While reading the story, reader is led to believe that Oshima is in fact a man. The pronoun used to describe Oshima is always masculine and appears to be masculine in all respects. However, in an interesting turn of events, it is revealed that Oshima is, in fact, a girl. Murakami's Japanese publishers launched a website soliciting clarifying questions about the novel from the public. They quickly collected 8,000 submissions, of which Murakami responded to 1,200. Murakami generally avoids offering written explanations of his work, preferring to let his audience discover personal meanings. He said, Kafka on the Shore contains several puzzles, but no solution is provided. Instead, many of these puzzles combine together and through their interaction, the possibility of a solution emerges. The form that this solution takes will be different for each reader. To put it another way, puzzles are part of the solution. It's hard to explain, but it's the kind of novel I set out to write. Overall, Kafka on the Shore is a wonderful novel that explores notions of identity, reality, and time in relation to human perception, filled with weird and abstract concepts, as well as difficult and sometimes gruesome events. Murakami weaves an incredible story that will stay with you for quite some time. While difficult at times, Murakami's witty humor and punches to social constructs through characters' dialogue light up the mood and help you navigate your way through this eerie and mysterious work of art. Before we wrap up the video here, let's take a look at this particular part. Kafka's artist father was best known for a work titled Labyrinth, a reference to the mythical labyrinth of Crete, which is a dark and disorienting labyrinth that Theseus was forced to navigate to kill the Minotaur hidden in its depths. In the novel, Oshima explains to Kafka the origin of the concept of the labyrinth, that labyrinths live in intestines of humans, which means that the principle of the labyrinth is within you. Self-exploration is a dangerous business. Kafka, like Inside, he is full of images of blood. These drives are hidden in the shadows of our unconscious, and we must weather their blinding unreason in order to confront them. When we venture from the daylight logic of consciousness to the labyrinth's dark confusion, we would do well to remember Crow's warning before Kafka begins his journey. The storm is you. Something inside of you. So all you can do is give into it, step right inside the storm, closing your eyes and plugging up your ears so the sand doesn't get in, and walk through it, step by step. There's no sun there, no moon, no direction, no sense of time. Just fine white sand swirling up into the sky like pulverized bones. That's the kind of sandstorm you need to imagine. I would like to be your friend, and in return I need your suggestions and feedback. If you liked this review, please spread the word. If you don't like it, share it with us in comments section. Ciao, ciao, brown cow.